Romeo and Juliet by Karel Capek. A young English nobleman, Oliver Mandeville, on a leisurely tour of Italy to broaden his education, received news in Florence that his father, Sir William, had departed this world. Sir Oliver therefore bade farewell with a heavy heart and copious tears to Signorina Maddalena, swore that he would return as soon as possible, and set out with his servant on the road to Genoa. On the third day of their journey, a heavy rainstorm overtook them just as they came to a remote hamlet. Sir Oliver reined in his horse under an ancient elm. "Paolo," he said to his servant, "see if there is some sort of albergo here where we might wait out this torrential downpour." "As for your servant and horses," came a voice from above, "there is an albergo right around the bend in the road, but you, Cavaliere, would do great honor to my parish if you would take shelter under my modest roof." Sir Oliver doffed his broad-brimmed hat and looked up at the window from which a stout old priest was beaming at him cheerfully. "Vossignoria Reverendissima," he said deferentially, "you show far too much kindness to a stranger who is leaving your beautiful land overburdened with gratitude for all the good which has been heaped upon him so boundlessly." "Bene, dear son," said the priest. "But if you go on talking a moment longer, you'll be thoroughly drenched. Kindly dismount from your mare and get yourself in here in a hurry, for it's raining very hard." Sir Oliver was surprised when the Molto Reverendo Parocco came through the rectory hallway to greet him. He had never seen such a diminutive clergyman before. When Sir Oliver bowed, he had to bend so low that the blood rushed to his head. Come, none of that," said the priest. "I'm only a Franciscan, Cavaliere. They call me Padre Ippolito. Hey, Marietta, bring us some sausage and wine. This way, sir. It's confoundedly dark in here. Are you Inglese, yes?" "Ah, well, since you English broke away from the Holy Church of Rome, there have been swarms of you in Italy. I understand, signore. You must feel homesick. You see, Marietta, the gentleman is Inglese. Poor boy, so young and an Englishman already. Cut yourself some of this sausage, Cavaliere. It's genuine Verona. Nothing goes better with wine than Verona sausage, I always say. Let the Bolognese stuff themselves with their mortadella if they like. You stick with Verona sausage and salted almonds, dear son." "You weren't in Verona? A pity. It was the birthplace of the divine Veronese, signore. Actually, I'm from Verona myself, a celebrated city, sir. They call it the city of the Scaligeri. Is the wine to your liking?" "Grazie, padre," murmured Sir Oliver. "In England, we call Verona the city of Juliet." "You don't say?" Padre Ippolito exclaimed in amazement. "And why is that? I didn't know there'd been a Princess Juliet in Verona. But then, it's more than 40 years since I was there." "Which Juliet would that be?" "Juliet Capulet," explained Sir Oliver. "You see, we have a play about her by a man called Shakespeare. A beautiful play. Do you know it, Padre?" "No, but wait a minute. Juliet Capulet," Padre Ippolito babbled. "I should know her. I used to go to the Capulet's house with Padre Lawrence." "You knew Friar Lawrence?" gasped Sir Oliver. "How could I not know him? Why, I served as his acolyte, sir. Listen, might she be the Juliet who married Count Paris?" "I knew her. A most pious and praiseworthy lady, the Countess Juliet. She was a Capulet by birth, one of the Capulets in the velvet trade." "That can't be the one," declared Sir Oliver. "The real Juliet died when she was still a girl, in the most touching manner you can possibly imagine." "Uh-huh," said the Molto Reverendo. "Then it wasn't the same one. The Juliet I knew married Count Paris, and they had 8 children. A virtuous and exemplary wife, young sir. May God grant you one like her. True, there was a rumor that she had lost her head earlier over some young Grapulone. Signore, hasn't something of this sort been said about everyone? Youth, as we know, is headstrong and foolish. Be glad, Cavaliere, that you are young." "Are all the English young?" "They are," sighed Sir Oliver. "Ah, father, we too are consumed by the fire that consumed young Romeo." "Romeo?" Padre Ippolito repeated, and he took a sip of his wine. "I think I know that name. Say, wasn't he that young Sciocco, that fop, that scoundrel of a Montague who stabbed Count Paris? People said it was because of Juliet. Yes, that's it. Juliet was to marry Count Paris. A good match, signora. That Paris was a very rich and well-brought-up young gentleman. But evidently Romeo had taken it into his head that Juliet was promised to him. That's nonsense, sir, scoffed the padre, as if the wealthy Capulets would have given their daughter to one of those bankrupt Montagues. And besides, the Montagues backed Mantua, whereas the Capulets were on the side of the Duke of Milan. No, I think the assalto assassinatico against Paris was nothing but routine, run-of-the-mill politics. There is politics in everything these days, dear son. Of course, after that kind of rank hooliganism, Romeo had to flee to Mantua, and he never came back. Oh, but that isn't true, Sir Oliver burst out. Forgive me, Padre, but that's not at all how it was. Juliet loved Romeo, but her parents forced her to marry Count Paris. With good reason, interjected the old priest. Romeo was a Ribaldo, and he sided with Mantua. But before her wedding, Friar Lawrence gave Juliet a potion, continued Sir Oliver, so that she would fall into a death-like trance. That's a lie, Padre Ippolito said vehemently. Friar Lawrence would never have done such a thing. But it is true that Romeo attacked Paris in the street and wounded him. Perhaps he was drunk. I beg your pardon, father, protested Sir Oliver. But it was altogether different. The truth is that they buried Juliet, and Romeo ran Paris through with his sword over her grave. Wait a minute, said the priest. In the first place, it wasn't over her grave, but in the street, by the monument to the Scaligeri's. And in the second place, Romeo didn't run him through. He only sliced him on the shoulder. Look, it's not all that easy to kill someone with a sword. Just try it yourself, young man. Scusa, objected Sir Oliver, but I saw it right there on stage, at the very first performance. Count Paris most certainly was run through in a duel, and he died on the spot. And Romeo, in the belief that Juliet was dead, poisoned himself in her tomb. That's how it was, Padre. Wrong on all accounts, snapped Father Ippolito. He did not poison himself. He ran away to Mantua, friend. Forgive me, Padre, persisted Oliver, but I saw it with my own eyes. Why, I was sitting in the front row. The next moment Juliet regained consciousness, and when she saw that her beloved Romeo was dead, she too took poison and died. What on earth are you talking about? Padre Ippolito sputtered angrily. I can't imagine who would invent such malicious tales. The truth is that Romeo fled to Mantua, and poor heartbroken little Juliet did take a tiny drop of poison. But it was nothing, Cavaliere, mere childishness on her part. Why, she was scarcely 15 years old. I know this from Friar Lawrence, young man. Of course, I was only a ragazzo then, no bigger than... The good father waved his elbow a foot or so above the floor. Afterwards, they sent Juliet away to her aunt at Bezenzano to recuperate. Count Paris called on her there, his arm still in a sling, and you know what usually happens in such cases. She fell head over heels in love with him. 3 months later, they were married. Ecco, signora, that's the way it is in life. I myself was an acolyte at their wedding in a little white cassock. Sir Oliver sat as if stunned. Please don't be angry, father, he said at length, but it is 1,000 times more beautiful in the English play. Padre Ippolito snorted. More beautiful? I don't know what you think is beautiful about two young people taking their own lives. It would have been a waste and a shame, young man. Believe me, what is more beautiful is that Juliet married and had 8 children. And what children, young sir, pretty as pictures. Oliver shook his head. It isn't that, dear father. You don't know what a great love is. The diminutive priest blinked thoughtfully. A great love? I think that is when two people are able to get along together throughout the whole of their lives, devotedly and faithfully. Juliet was an uncommon woman, my dear sir. She raised 8 children and cherished her husband to the end of her days. So, in your country, Verona is called the city of Juliet. That is exceedingly good of you, English, Cavaliere. Lady Juliet was truly an excellent woman. May God grant her everlasting glory. Young Oliver, who had been lost in thought, suddenly roused himself. And what happened to Romeo? Romeo? I don't really know. I did hear something or other. Now I remember. He fell in love in Mantua with the daughter of this Marchesa. Now, what was his name? Montefalco, or something like that. Ah, Cavaliere, that was what you call a great love. In the end, he ran away with her or something. It was an extremely romantic story, but I have forgotten the particulars. Of course, it happened in Mantua. But supposedly it was a passione senza esempio, an exceedingly grand passion, sir. At least that's what they said. Ecco, signora, the rain has stopped. Sir Oliver rose to his full, embarrassed height. You've been tremendously kind, Padre. Thank you so much. Perhaps I might be permitted to leave something here for the poor people of your parish. He stammered, blushing, and shoving a handful of coins under the rim of his plate. My dear young man, Padre Ippolito protested, drawing back and fluttering his hands. You mustn't even think of such a thing. All that money for a morsel of Verona sausage. But some of it is for your story, too, Oliver said quickly. It was very, I really don't know how to say it, very much indeed. In through the windows of the rectory streamed the sun.